Hey friends, welcome back to Fretboard Yoga. Today we're going to do something a little different and start out with the pentatonic minor scale. The pentatonic minor scale is the one that most people start with in order to really get a little more of an edgy sound to play over the top of the blues or, some country and jazz and things. It's a really great place to start for soloing techniques. So I'm going to teach you that scale, the minor pentatonic scale, one of them. There are 5 in all. And then we're going to talk about some soloing techniques and do a little jam at the end. This is a movable scale, so once you learn it in one place, you can move it to any other place depending on your root. So the root is the note that names this scale. It's also called the tonic or the tone. So we're going to be on the 6th string, 5th fret, and that's an A note. So you can check out my class on Fretboard Yoga Notes to help you learn your notes a little better on the fretboard. We're just going to be working with the 6th string today, so A is our starting note. And I'm just going to play the scale so that you can hear it. So it's a little bit easier than some of the other major scales or pentatonic scales because your first finger is kind of like this anchor. You're playing your first finger every time on the 5th fret, or whatever fret you're starting on. So 5th fret to the 8th fret with your 4th finger. Maybe do that little rock a couple times. So we're just rocking between those two. It's a little bit of a stretch at first if you're new to guitar. Keeping your fingers close to the fretboard is really helpful. Make sure your wrist's not out here like this. You're not hunching over. We're nice and tall, making sure we're not going to cause any injury. Good. And then 5th fret to the 7th fret with your ring finger. Let's do that again. So 5th to 7th with the ring finger. Again, just like we're doing a chromatic scale, if you started out with me with the chromatic scale, these 4 fingers are in charge of these 4 frets. Just like that, right? So we're going 1st finger, 4th finger, and then 1st finger, 3rd finger. Let's do that again. Same thing on the next string. 1st finger, 3rd finger. Same thing on the next string. And then the last 2, you're going to do your 1st finger, 4th finger again. So the last 2 notes skip 2 frets in between. Okay, so the first one is like that too, and the last 2 are like that. All the rest are just skipping 1 fret in the middle. So that's the scale. You don't have to go that fast. Let's try a little slower. So we're going to go 5 to 8, 5 to 7, same thing. Now let's try it backwards. So we're going to go 8, 5, 8, 5 on the next string, ring finger, 1st finger, same thing again, and then the last one you stretch your 4th finger up. Now let's talk about what's going on with my right hand. I am using a pick today, and you can do a little practice with your pick to get used to it. I like to hold it with my first finger and my middle finger pointing down. This is a pick that is equal on each side. You can get the kind that is just has one point, but I really like these. This is a really thin, I think it's made of ebony, and so it has a really nice warm sound that's better in my opinion than the plastic picks, which sound really plasticky. If you do get one of those picks, I suggest getting a harder gauge pick, so medium to heavy. Heavy being probably the best because you're not going to get as much slap back from the plastic on the strings. So you want to hold your pick with your first fingers pointing down, and then the point that you're going to use to play the strings is going to be to the left of your thumbnail. So first two fingers and then left of your thumbnail. So you want to be able to have your arm totally straight, not like this or like this. You don't want to have to be changing the direction of your wrist. It's really almost all in the elbow. My wrist moves a little bit, but it's mostly in my elbow. And so you want your picking to be really small. Like, I'm not moving anywhere beyond the scope of this string. It's like I tell my little students, I'm just tickling the tip of the string. You don't want to go too far because then you'll hit the other strings. It's a very small motion. So I like to tell my students to practice this for 2 minutes on each string. At least my students with a little bit more attention span. And then let's go down to the A string. D string. We're just doing a quick little tutorial today. G. You don't have to go as fast as I am, just getting the sense of how to use your pick. And then the E string. Cool. So what I'm doing when I'm playing the scale is alternating that pick. This is a little bit more of a intermediate technique where we're alternating and using this. All of this is happening at once. So if you're just starting out, you can just do down picks and do it really nice and slow. And then maybe the next time you try it, try down on this one, up on the next one, down on this one, up on the next one. Just nice and slow. Yeah, it's harder than it looks, I know. Cool, can you do it backwards? Down on this one, up on the next one. Awesome. So that is the A minor pentatonic scale. So if somebody's playing A minor, all of those notes work really well. And so we're going to learn a couple of those techniques to make it sound more like a solo. Because if we're just playing the notes just really staccato, it doesn't really sound like we're saying anything. We want to sound more like a voice, right? And so voices don't go la, 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 la. We don't usually do that. We're like la, 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 you know, something like that. So we want to use a couple of these techniques to make it sound more like a voice. So the first one that we're going to do is a slide. We're going to take your ring finger, your third finger, and you're going to put it on the side that we're usually playing with your first finger on the fourth string. So put your ring finger right there. And we're going to use that to slide up. And if you did the D major scale lesson, fretboard salutation, you will have already learned a couple slide techniques. And so it doesn't matter, you can go down with the pick or up with the pick, either way. So if you're pushing too hard, you'll get each individual sound of the fret, sound really kind of crunchy. So if you're not pushing hard enough, it'll just kind of end and you won't get a slide sound. So it's a little balance between the two, pushing too hard and not hard enough. And you'll get a little fret noise. It's normal. Yeah, that's a slide. So we're going to do a slide into the next note in the scale. So this is used a lot in solos. So we're going to slide up 5 to 7, and then you add your first finger to the 5th fret, 3rd string. And if you can, hold them down at the same time. Again, this is a little advanced, so don't worry if you're not getting that right away. Keep trying. Good. So that's a slide into what's called a double stop. A double stop is when we're playing 2 notes at a time. Nice. So now we're going to learn a hammer-on. So you're going to take your first finger and go down to the 3rd string of the 5th fret, and you're going to hammer on this ring finger on the 7th fret, 3rd string. And it's just like the name implies, you want to hammer that finger down on the fret. And it helps if you use the tip of your finger. It has a little harder bone there, so you're not pushing past all the flesh of your finger. Kind of gross to think about. Yeah, so hammering on. So let's try all of that. So we're going to do a slide from 5 to 7 of the 4th string, slide up. Add your first finger on that double stop, and then we're going to do a hammer on. So if you're not getting a whole lot of sound with a hammer on, that means you have to have a little more velocity, so just get into it. There you go. Try that again. Just keep practicing, you'll get it. All right, now we're going to do a pull-off. So you're going to use your ring finger and you're going to pull off to this first finger. So you're going to keep that first finger there. You have to pull off to that note. So it sounds like this. So I'm pulling off my finger. So I literally kind of peel it off and I want to strum it. I'm over exaggerating, so I hit the string underneath it. So if you over exaggerate it too much, you'll hit the string underneath it. But you want to kind of lift up. It's like a strum and a lift. Okay, so let's try it with our solo that we're learning. Again. Try it again one more time. And if you're not getting a whole lot of sound on that pull-off, you need to strum it a little more. It's kind of like you're pulling your finger down a little bit to get the sound. One more time. Awesome. So that's just kind of a little taste of a solo. you can use what's called vibrato to give you a little extension of the sound, because you don't want it to just die out. So we're going to go. And you're just going to kind of pivot from the back of your, where your thumb is on the back. You're just going to pivot side to side. And I'm not really sliding around on the fret. I'm pivoting from where my finger is and just moving my wrist. And so you can use any of these techniques, your hammer-ons and your pull-offs, and some vibrato to make your solos sound a little bit more interesting. So I'm just trying out some things. There's really no wrong way. If you want to just pick 4 notes, maybe just pick these 4 notes and try those techniques. See how many different combinations you can get. I did a little bend there. We'll do another lesson on bends, but a bend is where you just kind of pull that string down. You can also lift it up. It's harder on acoustic guitars, so that's why I'm not really focusing on that today. So mostly slides, pull-offs. What I want you to do now is try some of the chords that we could put over the top of this. So the chords that I chose today are A minor, since we're in the key of A minor. An A minor is where we put your first finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. Middle finger goes to the 4th string, 2nd fret, and ring fingers on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Your bass note, your root note, is the A, because we're playing an A minor chord, and so we want that to be the lowest note we play. If you're working with a pick, it can sometimes be a little tricky if you have too much pick sticking out to not hit the lower strings. So choke up on it a little bit and just play with a little bit sticking out. So we're going to go bass, strum, bass, bass, strum. All right, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum. And now we don't want it to ring out at the end of that pattern, so we're going to do a little touch. We're just going to palm mute. We're going to just touch our hand down. You don't have to have your fingers out or anything. It's just a little palm touch, right? So I'm going bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, touch, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, touch. So 5th string, strum, 5th string, strum, touch. Okay? 5th string, strum, touch. It just helps it to sound a little bit more percussive rather than ringing out like this. It doesn't sound all that great. So bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, touch, bass. Cool. So the next chord we're going to do is a D7. So keep your fingers down on that A minor. Maybe try it a couple times. Whenever I'm learning a new chord, I will lift up my fingers and then put them back down. So if you don't have A minor quite in your pocket, try that a couple times. You lift up, put them back down. They might like to wander around on you. So this helps train your neurons to keep your fingers in the same shape when you're going for A minor. All right, so now you're going to move your middle finger down a string towards the floor. Keep your first finger where it is, and your ring finger will be on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So my first finger is still on the 2nd string of the 1st fret. So it makes a little triangle. My first finger is in the middle of these 2 fingers. That's a D7. And so my D note needs to be the lowest note in the chord. So D, strum, D, D, strum, or 4, fourth string strum, fourth string strum. Again, fourth string strum, fourth string strum. That's a mouthful. Fourth string strum. Great. Touch. Okay, the last chord we're going to do is an E7. So go ahead and go back to the A minor chord if you have that one down. Again, first finger, second string, middle finger, second fret, fourth string, ring finger, third string. If you're getting any weird sounds, like sometimes people will get this sound, that means your first finger is on the third string. So you have to bring it down to the second string. It happens a lot, so you know. You might get this sound, which is an A7. That means your ring finger needs to go up. Just kind of things like that. You'll hear things that aren't quite right, and you'll learn what your fingers are doing and how to correct it as we go along. So to get to E7, you're going to just move that shape up towards the ceiling and lift up your ring finger. So my first finger now is on the third string, first fret, and my middle finger is on the fifth string, second fret. And I can play all the strings because my E is my lowest note. And I'm playing an E7. So you don't want it to ring out, right? So we're going bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, hit. Okay, so the whole progression will be 2 times through the progression on A. So bass, strum, touch, bass, bass, strum. That's 1. Then the D. Bass, bass, strum, bass, strum. Try it with me when you're ready. A minor, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, touch. Then the D, strum, bass, bass, strum. A minor. Try it again. D. So we're just going to do that twice between those 2 chords. And then the third time through, you're going to do 1 on E, 1 on D. This is a little tricky. Back to A. Then it starts over again and does the whole circle again. So basically when we start over again, you're going to do A all together 4 times. So here's the A. I'm just going to go through it so you can hear it. And if you're on the scale, just keep playing the scale. Try out some different techniques. See what kind of sound you can get. Maybe pick just 4 notes. See what you can do with just 4 notes. Back to D. Now the turnaround. Here's the E7. One of those. Then the D, back to A. Here's the beginning again, A. You can play with your pick a little bit. That. Just have fun with it. Here's the E. It's called the turnaround. We're getting back to the beginning by turning around. Then the A. Try it again. D again. Back to E. Here's the turnaround. We're going back to the beginning by turning around. And the A. One more time, then we turn back to the beginning. Beginning. So the cool thing about this is that your open notes are open, you're playing them before you are playing the chords. So you can play the open note, gives you a little split second to get to that chord. Play the open A, and it gives you time to get your fingers on there. Again, here's the D. I'm keeping my right hand just moving. Bass drum, bass drum, and the E. Back to the D. That's a big move, so playing the open note is helpful. Just trying out some stuff. Here's the E, and the D, back to the A. So you can have a little meditation with this. You can close your eyes now that you have the chords. Just vibe with it. This is more bluesy, so you can kind of get into that bluesy state of mind. Whatever path you're choosing today, just see how you can enjoy it. Try not to judge it. I'm not perfect. I mess up all the time. Turn around to the E, back to the D, and to the A. One more time through. Close your eyes if you can. Here's the turnaround to the E. Ready? Here it is. Play the E note. And the D. A. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. If you are enjoying these lessons, check out Fretboard Yoga. I have a PayPal donation you can make there to help me create more lessons. Really makes a big difference because it takes a massive amount of time to make these. You can also subscribe just like Patreon and get a whole bunch of extra lessons where I teach songs or other tablature and behind the scenes. And if that's not available, just please share these. I want to make sure that I can get them out to everybody that doesn't have the privilege of taking private lessons. I think this is the closest way of getting there for a lot of people. And it helps us to learn all together and keep spreading music around the world because it really does help a lot. So thank you so much for joining me today. The music in me salutes the music in you. Namaste.